Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'd like to start by thanking the member for Gosport for bringing this debate today. I know she's passionate about ensuring that we highlight the challenges carers face and recognise the contributions they make to families and communities throughout the UK. And I pay tribute to her excellent work as Chairman of Carers APPG. Madam Deputy Speaker, being National Carers Week, it is only right that we reflect and appreciate the 5.7 million carers in our country, but also explore what more we can do to support them both financially but also practically. And I think we have to also recognise in this place that the number of carers is only going to increase. With the life expectancy continuing to increase, more people living longer with more health conditions, children surviving conditions which they may never have survived the womb, let alone birth, and are now living maybe for decades, and the parents are the ones who have to give most of the care. Yesterday, I was honoured to meet with Age UK, Carers Trust, Oxfam GB, the MND Association, Rethink Mental Illness and the Lewy Body Society at the National Carers Week parliamentary reception. These organisations are vital in supporting carers right across the UK, and I pay tribute to their professionals and their volunteers for the support they do provide. I understand on a very personal level the difficulties being a carer brings. Like so many women, as the member for Gosport mentioned, we have caring responsibilities, particularly and it falls to us because even we know that women make up the most number of carers, and many of us are employed, we're keeping down jobs, we have often had our children later, and it comes at a time when our children are maybe needing us, particularly as teenagers, and then our parents need us because they are reaching an age where they may be having health issues. It is certainly the sandwich generation, and it's known well now. And believe me, I know it's not an easy task to juggle all those responsibilities. I have had personal experience, as I said, because I've supported my mum when she was looking after my father when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I saw the toll it takes on you mentally, on you physically, and on you financially. And I think what I took away from that own personal experience is that it's really lonely. It is really, really lonely if you are, and particularly during COVID, and this was during COVID, I can't imagine how many of the millions of people, and I think it was millions of people, who were isolated at home and having at the same time to look after a family member with conditions like Alzheimer's, and the loneliness when you know, but the thing about Alzheimer's is you do lose your loved one twice. You lose them as the Alzheimer's disease and dementia progresses, and then you obviously lose them when they die. And I remember having a week looking after my father in August 2021 when my mum had a week off respite care, and I have to say it was one of the hardest things I have done in a long, long time, and it was at the same time of trying to juggle my parliamentary work as well. And all I can say is thank goodness for Test cricket and the 100, because my father was a cricket an avid fan all his life, and at that time I was looking after him. We had the India Test and we had the 100 in the evening, so that kept me sane. But you know, without that, I don't know how the amazing carers across the country do cope. And it's because of my experience and from speaking to so many carers across the cities of London and Westminster that I was so proud to support the member of North East for North East 5's Carers Leave Bill early this year, and I was delighted to sit on the bill committee as well. And I must add my congratulations to the member for North East 5, and as this bill is now past its final stages, and you know, it's going to make such a difference. It means that unpaid carers will now be entitled to at least 5 extra days off a year, helping more carers stay in employment. After all, 600 people, I understand, leave work every day in the UK due to care duties, according to Carers UK. But this private member's bill recognises that these people need the flexibility to take time off work for their loved ones. Madam Deputy Speaker, in 2020, over 7 million people who were employed also had the added responsibility of unpaid caregiving. And of course, this can lead to people getting very little rest from combined work and care responsibilities. This explains why 71 of carers report having poor physical or mental well-being, according to the Mental Health Foundation. And that is why I fully support the government's report, the next step to put people at the heart of care, which includes a funding package of 25 million for unpaid carers, though I'd obviously like to see it increased. However, we must also remember that many carers are too young to be employed. And I would like to take this moment to recognise the role played by young carers, of which there are approximately 800,000 across the UK. I think that is a staggering number. These children, and they are often very young children, and young adults, embody compassion, responsibility and maturity beyond their years. On average, young carers devote around 17 hours a week to their caring duties, according to Carers UK. Just imagine the sacrifices they make. They're selfless acts of love that go unnoticed by many. I was first exposed to this issue when I worked at the Children's Society and was responsible for the publicity of a publication of a report on the lifetime effects of a child being a carer. Those findings remain with me today because it is not just the immediate, but the long-term effects being a young carer has on things like education, attainment, and personal or even social confidence. And I remember speaking to people who had taken part in the report, and they were telling me that, and these were adults now, they were men and women in their 30s and 40s, but they still lived with what they called shame of not being able to take friends home because they were embarrassed about what was at home if their mum usually had mental health issues, or the fact they couldn't go to that party, they couldn't go to that birthday party, they couldn't act as a proper teenager and be with their teenage friends because of their caring responsibilities. And it has a lifetime effect on people's confidence and people's life chances. And I think that being said, I am also proud of the work that this government is doing to support young carers. Obviously, there can always be more help. But, for example, extending the education, health and care plans from 18 to 25-year-olds, thousands of families across the country have seen increased support. Madam Deputy Speaker, I and many of my fellow members across the House today have spoken of the incredible sacrifice made by so many unpaid carers, whether it's financially or personally. But on National Carers Week, we must not forget the professional care sector. We often speak about the NHS, about the doctors and nurses, which are, of course, so important, but the value of social care sector workers cannot be underestimated. So I must take this opportunity to thank our professional carers who support our loved ones in care settings and in their own homes. I saw it directly myself in how the outstanding carers looked after my father with such respect and such love and devotion at the Bella Vista care home in Cardiff Bay last year before he passed away. And I also saw it myself when I worked with my mum. My mum was a hairdresser and I used to work with her. She used to work in care homes and be a hairdresser in care homes and day centres. And I used to go and help her in the summer holidays. And I saw the vital respite care that the day centre in Ely in Cardiff gave to so many families. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, across the country, we do see every day fine examples of sacrifice, love and selfishness. That is why it is so important we have debates like this. And again, I thank the member for Gosport for bringing it, to recognise and thank the carers, the unpaid carers in particular, across the UK. And it is also why I fully support the government's new support for carers, including the 2023-24 Better Care Fund, which is also earmarking £327 million to support local authorities with health and care services, including providing carers with advice, support, short breaks and respite services. It's so vital to ensure that we provide this respite for carers. I know firsthand how important this extra funding will be. When I was leader of a council, I knew we had approximately 40% of our annual budget was spent on adult social care. So we do need to continue to fund councils in this vital work. And I also note what the member for Gosport said in her speech regarding the need to undertake care assessments a lot quicker and a lot more in a lot more caring way. And I hope that the Minister has taken note of that comment as well. Of course, yes.
I mean, I heard what she said about young carers, but does she recognise that there is a problem in identifying all young carers, and that we have to do more to try to identify all those people who are providing that care service but go totally unnoticed in society?
I thank the member for Henley for his intervention, and I completely agree. And I think part of the problem, particularly for young carers, is that they're embarrassed, but they're also, and I fear for them for this, they think that they may be taking into care. That they think that because they are having to look after their parent, that a social worker and a local authority will see that they can't cope. And that is the last thing that any family needs to think about. That the fact is that if we can identify, and you know, when I was Children's Services Lead at Westminster, I did a lot of work with young carers, and we had an amazing support network in Westminster for young carers, and they can be so young. They can be as young as 8, 9. So it is really important that we do identify them, that we give them and their parents assurances that it is not about taking them away, but to giving the children and the parents the support they need. I'm also glad to see that the Minister is due to hold a cross-government roundtable with other ministers to make sure that carers' needs aren't just recognised in social care, but in every aspect of their lives. And again, I think this is a theme that we've discussed today. It's not just about the daily grind of caring and the responsibilities and the TARDIS. It's also about the financial help and other help. Madam Deputy Speaker, making sure carers are recognised in health, social care and education is a priority, along with helping people recognise themselves as carers so that they can tap into local carers network and also apply for the financial support that is out there. Moving forward, this will be crucial for carers across the United Kingdom, and that is why I look forward to continuing my work with the government to ensure that all adult unpaid carers and young carers across the 2 cities of London and Westminster, but across the whole country, are supported financially, emotionally and physically. We owe them all a huge debt.